Hi everyone. So before actually seeing what reusability of components are, we need to discuss something known as prop. Yes. So what is props in React? So props are those entities which will actually help your component to go dynamic. Yes. Now what do we mean by go dynamic? Alright. So first what I will do is I'll just remove this code. We have already talked about this, that you can use JavaScript expressions with JSX. So I'll remove all of this, right? And now just look at this component. What do you see? This component just has static data right now. So we have just put some text and it will just display in your application hello from hello component. That's it, right? But what if I want to make this dynamic so that I can actually pass dynamic data to it? So for that we can use props, right? And how we are going to use props. So over here what you have to do to use props is you just have to say props like that, right? So now your functional component, this particular component, is ready to get some props, right? So you can pass on some props to this component. Okay, but how we are going to pass these props? So what I will do is I'll just write a static name over here. Let me just pass Adam. Hello Adam. So now if you see, your particular component is rendering hello Adam. Perfectly fine. If I go to my app.jsx, you will see hello, and I'll just remove this, right? So this is basically your component right now, just the basic component, and this is getting printed as hello Adam. Great. But now what you're going to do over here is, let's go into hello.jsx, right? And over here, let's say that I want this name property to be dynamic. So I want to pass it from where I'm rendering this particular component. Here I'm actually going to use this component, and from here only I want to pass the value. I do not want to pass the static value for this, right? For this hello.jsx component. So how can I do that? So over here I just have to say that I want my props to have a name property. I want my functional component to have a name prop, right? And how am I going to use this name prop? So I'll just go to this app.jsx, and over here I'll just say name equal to add something like that, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm saying that, okay, hello, you have this property known as name, right? You can see now this name is a property which is of type string right now, and I have passed Adam over here. So now I can use this particular component again and again, and for multiple times I can pass different data. Whenever I'm going to reuse this component, I'm going to pass different data, right? So let's see that. So if I reuse this particular component, if I use this again, so now I can change this particular name to Steve. Now what will happen when this particular hello will render? The name prop which we have defined over here will receive the name Adam, right? So it will print hello Adam. But now if you have used this like this, right, you have written hello, and now you have passed name Steve. So now what will happen, that this component will again get reused, but this time the name will change to Steve, right? Let's see. Hello Adam, hello Steve, right? But if you do not use prop, then what will happen? If I do not use prop, so I'll just have to add a static name Adam, right? And every time it will just print hello Adam, and that doesn't actually make sense, because this is actually static. This is a static component, right? We cannot actually change the data for this. But by using props, you're actually able to pass on different data different times. Props dot name, like that. So now if you go to your app.jsx over here, Adam Steve, similarly if you want to use it for multiple time, you can use that as well. So if I use it like this, Adam Steve, and let's pass Mark, let's pass Mike, right? So they will have all of their names and you'll be able to use them. So now what you're doing is you're actually using that component only, the same functional component only, just the plain simple hello component, but this time your component is dynamic, right? And how is that possible? That is possible because of these props, right? If you want to add more props, you can add them as well, right? So if I want to add props dot phone, right? So now this particular prop will also be able to take phone property as well. So if you go to your app.jsx, over here you can just pass phone, and for phone number you can just pass a number. I will just pass some random number. But now if you see, it's not allowing me to pass a number like that. because it will take it in the form of a string only, right? So you have to pass it in the form of string. So I'll just pass some random number and this is passed. Similarly, I'll pass this phone property to all of these particular reused component as well, right? And you can change the numbers, whatever number you want to, you can change them and it will be changed to those numbers, right? Just adding some random numbers, right? Like that. And now if you see, all of these numbers are there for Adam, Steve, Mark, Mike, different values. Same component, reusing again. We are reusing the same component again, but with different values. So this is actually known as reusability of components, right? Sometimes it's asked in interviews that how will you reuse a component? So this is how, I mean, this is a basic example that you can give. And if you want to see some real life examples, you can go into Google's homepage, and over here, this is just a very basic example. You see, there are several languages. The structure is the same. That means the component is same, but just the text is different. So over here, this is written in Hindi, this is Bengali, this is I guess Telugu, sorry if it's not, right? And then Marathi, and there are some other languages as well, right? Or if you want to go to your IMDb project, right? Sorry, IMDb website, this particular website, right? I know you must be familiar with this, right? The topmost movie website over there. Alright, so if you see, this is a card right now, but this card, every particular item, list item if you want to call it, has the same structure, but just the data is changing. So for all of these cards, the images are changing, the text is changing, runtime, release year, all of the data is changing, but the structure remains the same, right? The structure completely remains the same. So that actually tells you that these cards are also being reused. And what are these things that are changing values? Yes, these are props, right? So you can pass movie name prop, runtime prop, release date prop, all of these things one by one, as we have passed our phone numbers and names, like this, right? So this is how you can actually reuse your components. But there is a little efficient way of writing your props as well, right? So before this, you can write your props like this. So if I go to my hello.js, so now over here you have to give your props.name, props.phone, like that. But there is a shorter way of doing that, that is destructuring, right? I hope you're familiar with destructuring. If you're not, please watch my destructuring video in my JavaScript course, right? So over here, you can just use destructuring. So you can say that, okay, I'm going to destructure the name and the phone. That's it. So as you do this, you will not have to use this props.name, props.phone. You can directly use the name and you can directly use the phone, something like that. So now you have your name property, now you have your phone property, and for each one of them, whatever you will pass from your app.jsx, they will get reflected. So for this component, Adam, Steve, Mark, Mike, right? These are going to be the name for these 4 components, and these are going to be the name phone for these 4 components. So all of these particular props will be taken by the hello component over here, and it will get rendered again and again, right? However, I mean, how many times you want to reuse it. So if you see right now, there is no change in the output, right? So this is an efficient way of handling your props, right? Adding your props, providing your props, and yes. So this is basically props and reusability of components.